Welcome. It was a day just like today where we were all together as a family. A holiday, a celebration time. And as we were sharing stories about the year ahead, we simply listened as one of our colleagues and friends said, "I just quit my job. My goodness. And I'm going to start my own business this year." My goodness. What about that? We were a little anxious for him because we knew the risks were involved. And as we talked about that, he leaned forward and said to us all, he says, you can't think that way. You can't talk that way because fear kills everything. That's right. Indeed it does. Fear kills everything. And today on The Marketing Life, we're going to talk just about that and how we can deal with our fears, overcome our fears, and have a better future for us all. This is Stan Houston, and this is The Marketing Life. Yes, indeed, fear does kill everything. I'm Stan Houston, and this is The Marketing Life, how to live well, market you, and grow your business, and I'd like to audition to be your marketing life coach. It's a whole different view of marketing, particularly for those of you in the financial services. It's not about your message or your brochure. It's not about whether you are LinkedIn or whether you tweet or Flickr. Marketing is about how you live your life, how you treat others, how you demonstrate wisdom and insight, and how useful you are. You see, the real marketing that makes a difference is you and how you live your life. And one of the things I want us to understand is that when it comes to marketing, this is true. Fear kills everything. Just at that holiday reunion, that entrepreneur-to-be made it very, very clear that if fear is in our life, it'll kill everything. And I've discovered, and I even say this in my book on marketing, that you have to begin to overcome your fears in order to be a great marketer, to be a successful businessman, to be a business leader, a businesswoman who goes out there in the marketplace and makes her mark and makes a difference. You'll have to overcome your fears. So if we're going to live the marketing life, we have to learn a little bit about our fears. Now, we have an entire program on this, which you can purchase and look at. Just simply that, Fear Kills Everything. But in the next 4 or 5, 6, 7 minutes, we'll see where it goes. I'd like to just give you a brief summary on this holiday time about what are the great 5 fears that kill. Now, some people say there are 500 fears. Some people say there are 5,000 fears. Well, that just simply means that we don't have any idea about how many paranoias and phobias and fears we might have. But I've discovered that in working with people that we're going to deal primarily with 5 of them. And these 5 fears are really the root of almost all of our fears, and particularly if we're people who are going to try and make a difference in the marketplace. So can I help you today just get a brief understanding of what they are? And that's the first step in overcoming them. Reality. Figure out what truly is going on. Well, the first fear is one that many are going through right now. Poverty and loss. I lose my job. Well, it's not the job that I fear. It's the fact that I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my income. And then I'm going to be broke. I had one very successful CEO of a company who was going through a very difficult time in his life. And he said, the business had me so scared, and I was driving home one day, and as I was driving home, I saw a bunch of kids playing in a big cardboard box from an appliance that they'd gotten. And he said, all of a sudden, I had this incredible anxiety attack. My shirt went wet with sweat because I saw myself as homeless. He said, oh, that's right. No matter who we are, to understand that the fear of poverty and loss is an incredible fear. Particularly in our North American capitalistic environment, having no money, being in poverty is a great fear, and it really is a killer. Well, the second fear, this is the fear of failure, being humiliated, not making it happen, and then, of course, being at loss, the fear of failure. Now, many of us deal with this, and it's a killing fear. We wonder, what's going to happen to us if we fail? Will people make fun of us? And then you see where this leads. Well, if I fail, then I'm going to lose my income, then I'm going to be in poverty, and it's going to be terrible again. So I better not try something, because if I fail, I better not try that new job or that new enterprise or that new approach. I better stick with what I'm doing. Better not change, because I might fail. And what is true is successful people will tell you is that's the fear they work on and try to overcome. If they can overcome their fear of failure, because you will fail. In fact, one very successful man, Thomas Watson, who created IBM, one time said to young leaders, if you want to be successful, double your failure rate. Because you will learn, you will get better, you will have more courage when you learn how to deal with the fear of failure. But I'm not making fun of that. All of us deal with that great fear of failure. So that's the second fear we have to learn to deal with. Well, the next fear is rejection, embarrassment, humiliation, and loss. Why was I so afraid when I was 16 to ask that cute little girl out who I think had a little bit of interest in me? Well, you know why I was afraid. I was afraid she'd say, Stan, you? I don't want to go out with you. Rejection. Why are we afraid to approach that prime prospect? Rejection. Now, I don't make fun of this. We all suffer a great deal of rejection and loss in our life. And for that hard-nosed sales manager to just say is, don't worry about rejection, get over it. That's too simple. Rejection is painful. It's hurtful. It's hard to take. And it's a great deal of the fears that come to us, particularly in sales, marketing, and business. And you see how that works. Rejection leads to failure, which leads to poverty and loss. You see how these fears work on us. Oh, I'll be poor. I'll be a failure. I'll be rejected. I'll be humiliated. Just an understanding of how these things connect is important. This leads to our fourth fear, and this is the key one we're going to work on. The fear that we don't have any value. Now that's vital. Everybody's selling this insurance. They can buy this from everybody. They can buy it from nobody. They can buy it from somebody with more experience. And so we look at our business and we see it's merely a commodity. We're just one of a million people, it seems, in the marketplace. And we are afraid that we have no value. Wow. Now, one of the great things we're going to work at in our marketing life is the realization that we do make the difference, that we will have wisdom and insights and ideas, innovative ways to help people. We are truly useful. And once you know that you really have great value, that there's value in who you are and what you do, that is a powerful courage builder and encouragement gainer. That's when it all comes down to courage. Now, then it really comes down, if you have no value, fear of no value and nothing to say. That's what we talk about. Marketing is a performance. You see, my friends, this is true. What I have to do is I have to understand that it truly is a performance that I have to give. We oftentimes use the term personal performance marketing. It's how you live. It's how you treat others. It's how useful you are. Can you write? Can you speak? Can you put things out in the marketplace that make a difference? But you know what? Most people first of all, are afraid they have no value. And then if they have their value, just as one guy said to me after listening to our program on the marketing life, he said, Stan, but you know, I think I'm valuable, I think I'm helpful, but you know, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to introduce myself to people. I don't know how to tell people. Some guy asked me on an airplane the other day what I did, and you know what? Stan, I sounded like an idiot. And I'm sure he doesn't want to say, oh, I sat next to some boring insurance guy the other day on the plane. You see, that is vital. Not only are we aware that we have value in what it is, we know what to say. We know how to write. We know how to speak. We know how to present ourselves. We've got real poise. We walk tall. We have energy. People sense our confidence. I love this expression, which one of my mentors taught me. The world stands aside for the man or woman who knows who they are, what they can do, and how to say it. The world stands aside for the man or woman who knows who they are, what they can do, and they can do it well, and they know how to speak it, offer it, and demonstrate it. There we go. I just simply want to remind you that these fears are there. I wish I could say that there would be no fear. Now, if I could offer you the remedy to no fear, I would obviously charge you a great deal of money. But you can't be fearless. But as I said, you can have less fear. You can have fear less in a fearful world. And when people sense your confidence and your courage and your creativity and your ability to audit and know those fears and know what's happening in your life and move ahead anyhow, they want to work with you because they want to be like you. They want to be the kind of person that you are. They want their life and business to be like your life and business. And that's the marketing life. I'm Stan Houston. We have a program called, Marketing You. I do this in conjunction with NAFA, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. And as you cruise around our website, we'd love for you to find out a little bit more about us. Stan at marketinglifecoach.com. Stan at marketinglifecoach.com. I'd love to have your questions. I'd love to have some of your inquiries. We're here to coach you and help you. Well, this is the first part of our program, 10 minutes of clarity on the 5 fears. And now we're going to take a break and go to a coach who's going to coach me on how we can deal with those fears about the economy and the future ahead of us. I'll ask him the question, what should we be afraid of in the economy going forward? And what should we not be afraid of? That's next on the Marketing Life. Stay tuned. One of the reasons we call it the Marketing Life Coach is this life principle. Everybody needs a coach. The best have a coach. And particularly in the financial services industry, we are seeking ways to help you perform at your best, make your unique mark in the world, and perhaps be the person that people want to be with, work with. I have a coach. In fact, I have many coaches, and I'm going to introduce you today to one of my coaches who will be around from time to time, won't you, Jim?
I will.
Jim Fernstall has a distinguished career in international banking around the world and doing some startup work, also doing some turnaround work for businesses. And when I want to understand what's going on in the world in terms of banking and investing, particularly in economies of the world and what's going on, I need a coach. I go to Jim. He tells me the books to read. He tells me the articles I should be aware of. And then he just sits down and does what every good coach does. He gives me a little personal marketing life counsel. That's what you do, don't you, Jim?
I try to, and I enjoy our time together very much.
And he does it very, very well. Jim, we've been talking about fear today as people have listened to that. And David Ben-Gurion, who was one of the founders of Israel, had a very interesting quote that I came across one time, and he said this. He said, the key to success in life is knowing what you should be afraid of and what you should not be afraid of.
I love that quote.
Well, right now there's a lot of fear out there in the world.
There is.
And as you look at the economy and look at the world situation, can you help me sort that out and help our friends sort it out? What should we be afraid of, and what should we not be afraid of?
Well, fear can be a great motivator,
Right.
and I think for businessmen that's important to keep in mind. But we want a reality-based fear, don't we?
That's right.
So from my banking background, what we always do in banking is we always try and, we call it risk, and we try and analyze that risk and quantify it. And I think we can do the same thing. We can kind of audit reality around us as businessmen, as citizens.
Kind of underwrite the situation?
We can.
Okay.
We can take a look at what is going on around us. Let's take a look at the long term for the United States and for the market that we're in. Long term, I think you have to be very bullish about the United States and its position in the world.
Okay.
We have been a superpower for a very short period of time in history.
That's hard to remember, but it is. That's true, isn't it?
Only since the end of World War II, about 60 years. So in terms of superpowerism, that's a pretty short time frame. Many
Right.
people have said that the 21st century will be the American century. And I think if you look at the demographics, our geography, our resources, pull a lot of things together, you can see why people would say that. So I think long term, I would be very bullish on the American market and a lot of things that are going to happen around the world. There are some challenges out there, and we could talk about those too. Now, those, if we bring the picture in a little closer.
Okay, so big picture, those of us who are looking at the world and the economy, it was going to be okay long term, particularly for those of us who live in North America and the American environment, the economy that comes out of that.
Lots of challenges, but lots of opportunity. I totally agree with that.
So don't be afraid.
So don't be afraid, but keep in mind and try and educate yourself and read books about, read some futurist books and get some different input there. And follow things, articles in major publications that gravitate towards those once in a while.
From time to time, you'll come in and make a few recommendations on what to read about the state of the economy.
I would be happy to. I'd be
All
happy
right.
to do that. Short term, let's bring it back to a 5-year time horizon.
All right, we're starting the new year. What about next year and the next few years? Right.
Next couple of years, just going out through the next 5 years. We recently saw the Fed chairman, Ben Bernanke, on 60 Minutes. And he was very upfront about the fact that we're going to be recovering here in a recovery period of about 5 years, a 5-year time horizon.
Let's just face it, right?
Let's just be honest about that. The Federal Reserve is very well tuned in to what's going on in the economy, and I think we have to take that very seriously. So, and even if you look out at some of the projections the next couple of years, things are not going to grow very fast.
Is it going to be a little bit bumpy this next year?
It's going to be a little bumpy in 2011, and 2012 we should start to see that GDP number go into a category where we could see new jobs being created.
Double dip?
Possibility. That, I say, is what we call a black swan kind of event. There are a number of things that could happen out there. A war in Iran, where they could shut the oil off in the Persian Gulf through the Straits of Hormuz. Those are the kinds of things that could happen. They're called black swans in the industry.
And we'll get to that, but right now, if I'm just, as many of the people are, you're sitting here right now, this Christmas Eve day and through the week up to the new year, and significant people, if you are a significant person, you're using this week to think about,
Right.
in the midst of the partying and good times and family, you're taking some time to write down your life and business goals. A good time to do that. So thinking just in that immediate time frame, you're telling your colleagues like me, what should I do?
Well, I get back to this article that you and I recently co-authored, and we're talking about comeback strategies.
Right.
Because we're in a kind of a comeback market.
Okay.
And if you're a survivor, a business, small business, and you're still standing, and you still have capital, and you're still looking out the next couple of years, you're probably a survivor.
Okay.
And so you need to have a comeback strategy. How am I going to survive through this and grow into it and actually make the most of it? And remember, in our article, which is going to be published soon, we talk about the first thing you have to do is have a little confession that I've been talking about. I've been waiting for the market to bail me out. Well, that's not good enough. We have to admit that we've done the wrong thing.
The bull is around the corner, and I'll just wait for him, right?
That's right.
Don't do that.
Right. So we need to confess that that's kind of what we've been doing, waiting around for the market to recover. The next thing we have to do is courage to ask the right questions. What's my company missing? How do I get new customers? All those difficult questions that all of us like to put to the side. And then the final thing is we have to have commitment. What I see in a lot of small businesses today especially is a lack of commitment to one direction or another for their business. So confession, courage, and commitment. And I think if you start the new year thinking about these things, that can lead you into some new ideas and new areas for your enterprise.
And so what you're telling people right now is that ultimately is things will be much better. That right now you need a comeback strategy, but you then also mentioned that there could be a black swan. Now, help us understand what that term means and where we're going to go with that in the future.
Yes. In the financial world, a black swan is an event that happens out of nowhere that really can't be predicted. In a flock of geese, sometimes appearing out of nowhere is a black swan. Right, okay. And that's the genesis of that. And that can happen anywhere in the world. It can be nature generated, it can be human generated. So I mentioned the Iranian situation could blow up, they could close off the Straits of Hormuz for a while.
That's bad.
And oil would go up to possibly well over $100 a barrel. So that's a black swan, have an impact on world economy and on our economy as well. Another one that could happen would be an earthquake, a big earthquake in California. I don't want to go into all the scenarios, but you get the idea.
Just something that we can't predict, we can't forecast.
Right.
It just happens.
Right. There could also be some sort of disruption in the financial system and financial markets. We're not out of the woods on that yet. I think the Fed chairman was very, very upfront about the fact that this is a very slow situation where we're watching it very carefully, and this is just a precarious time for the financial market coming off this huge housing boom, which had a major league impact in the world economy.
So there are some things to be afraid of.
There are some things to be concerned about and possibly afraid of, leading to some sort of action, taking action.
Well, that's important. Now, you're going to kind of keep us informed on these things, right?
I would love to.
You see, what I always suggest to people is have people in your life who can keep you informed. Delegate everything but your genius. And he's my coach in helping me figure out what to read, where to go, and how to understand that world, because all of us need a coach. You know, as we come to the end of our program today, and I thank you, Jim, but just a message that I'd like to share with you, and one that meant a great deal to me. A number of years ago, a gentleman named Parker Palmer is a writer, speaker, and thought leader, and he said this about fears. He said, "We all have our fears because there's a lot to be afraid of in the world." But then he paused and he said, and I almost felt he was saying it to me, "But Stan, you don't have to become your fears."
Yes.
You don't have to become your fears. Right, the fear is out there. It's risk. It's reality. Be concerned. Take action. But the thing we don't want to have happen is that spirit of fear becomes our spirit, and that we become people of fear. So, that's our message for this Christmas day. Christmas Eve day, this Christmas week to the new year. That's right. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because fear kills anything. And we're going to survive. We're going to thrive. And by grace and good fortune, we will live and do business fully alive. I'm Stan Houston. This is The Marketing Life. I'm the Marketing Life Coach, along with my good friend Jim Fernstall, wishing you the best and blessings. And till next week when we talk about the new year, bye for now.